Yo, what's up YouTube? Back with another reaction video. We got every clue linking Diddy to Tupac's and Biggie's death. Let's get straight into it, man. Let's go.
Been indicted. Will we finally get answers about the alleged role he played in the tragic deaths of Tupac and Biggie?
Who killed Tupac and Biggie? I think both of these dudes were assassinated in some kind of way. More Biggie than Tupac.
Not a day goes by.
Yeah, I think he'll jump straight into like Diddy allegedly putting the hit on Tupac and Biggie, but let's see what he has to say.
Without new info coming out about Sean Diddy Combs. Whether it's reports about Diddy's new life behind bars, information about his trial, or a jaw-dropping 100+ new accusers coming forward, the secrets behind the freak-offs are finally...
You know what's crazy about Diddy? I didn't even know that he was like that big. I feel like the allegations and everything just blew up his character, and he wasn't really as big as people are leading on, in my opinion. But I could be wrong.
being exposed.
I didn't even know about Diddy. I mean, I might have heard one of his songs, but I didn't even know about him until everything came out. Like, I didn't even know the guy. And I was tapped into, like, back in the day, Tupac, Biggie. And I've obviously seen videos and listened to their music, but I just didn't know he was that deep in to the music industry like that.
To the world. But all this attention on Diddy is making people do a lot more than take a closer look at his parties. People are also re-examining his alleged role at the center of the two most notorious murders in hip-hop history, the deaths of Tupac and Biggie. Not only did these murders change the trajectory of Diddy's career, but they also changed the world forever. That's why we're digging into Diddy's alleged involvement in the deaths of these two superstars. What role did Diddy play in making Biggie Smalls the king of New York? What details do we have about Diddy's alleged ties to
I'm gonna
Tupac's
link this video in the
1996,
comments
and how did
or
Puff
in the
Daddy
description,
benefit from Biggie Smalls' murder
if y'all
just a year later?
give this guy some love.
Hours into digging through court records, transcripts, and long-forgotten interviews to give you the most complete picture possible of Diddy's alleged involvement in two of hip-hop's most monumental tragedies. And when you see all the connections we found between the untimely deaths of other people very close to Diddy, by the end of the video, the way you think about the entire music industry is going to change. But to understand all this, we need to go back to the initial rise of Puff Daddy, riding the coattails of legendary MC.
Did y'all watch the documentary? I only watched the first episode, and then I couldn't really get into it until the end, until like Tupac was brought up. I just couldn't get into it, to be honest.
Notorious B.I.G.
My music is being so well received because it's just some real you know.
During the early 90s, New York was no longer the mecca of rap. Dr. Dre's debut solo album, The Chronic, was the highest-selling rap album of 1992.
Like
the very next year, Dre's protege Snoop Dogg smashed records when he put out Doggy Style, the fastest-selling album of all time. The West Coast had the game on lock, led by Los Angeles-based Death Row Records. But across the country, Sean Puffy Combs put together his own rival label in New York City. In '93, Diddy founded Bad Boy Records, and one of his very first artists was Christopher Wallace, aka the Notorious B.I.G. When Biggie's album Ready to Die dropped in September of '94, it made Biggie Small a genuine superstar. And more than that, it showed that the East Coast could still show up and hang with the West. Oh, and Puffy, he was all over the album. He danced in the music video and provided vocals on songs like Juicy and Warning. Puffy's voice is even the first voice you hear on Biggie's debut album.
Yeah, I didn't know Diddy was tapped into it like this. I mean, I obviously knew after, watching the documentary. Yeah, I didn't know he was deep into the rap game like that. I guess that's why he was supposedly so huge in the rap industry. I have no idea. Never heard of the guy until everything that came
I
out.
helped crown the
Might have heard
notorious
one song,
B.I.G.
like I
as
said,
the
but I
new
don't
king
know.
of New York, but just 2 months later, both Big and Puffy became embroiled in the deadliest rap beef of all time. On November 30th of 1994, Tupac was invited by Biggie to Quad Recording Studios in Manhattan. At this point, Pac and Big were extremely close. Lil Cease, one of Biggie's proteges, claims that Biggie visited Pac's house frequently, and they even traveled together. But Pac would later claim that Puffy was blowing up his phone nonstop after he was invited to Quad. In fact, Pac claimed that Diddy was unusually focused on the exact time that he would arrive to the studio. Rumor had it that at this time, Pac had been digging around intel on Diddy's behind-the-scenes activities, including the possible mistreatment of Usher, who was still a teenager, by Diddy. As soon as Pac walked right into the lobby of Quad Studios that night, he was confronted by 3 armed men who tried to rob him. Pac fought and struggled with their assailants and tried to grab one of their guns, but the men shot Pac 5 times, pistol whipped him, and robbed him of over $40,000 worth of jewelry. And Pac survived the shooting, but blamed both Biggie and Puffy for the robbery, claiming that they betrayed him and set him up to be shot.
In that interview right there, yeah.
Things that I could say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about.
Both Big and Diddy publicly denied Pac's accusations, but Tupac did not let up. After inking a new record deal with Death Row, Tupac released his 1996 diss track Hit 'Em Up, and let's just say he was not playing around. Pac bragged about sleeping with Biggie's wife, dissed Puffy, and declared himself a bad boy killer. And in another diss track Against All Odds released in November of 1996, Pac again zeroed in on Puffy's alleged involvement in the shooting, claiming
Puffy getting bobbed like a to hide that fact. He just he should have did, so we riding for that.
In 1995, Suge Knight, the CEO of Death Row, rolled up on his entourage of Mob Piru Bloods to a birthday party for the rapper producer Jermaine Dupri. One of the gang members in Suge's entourage was his close friend and right-hand man, Big Jake. When Suge saw that Puffy was at Jermaine Dupri's party, he directly confronted him, leading to a fight. Suge and his Bloods were forced to leave the party, but gunshots suddenly started ringing out everywhere. Everyone ducked for cover and saw a gunman firing bullets into the air. As everyone was distracted, somebody walked up to Suge's associate Big Jake and shot him from behind. Eyewitnesses claim that the man who shot Big Jake was none other than Puffy's bodyguard, Wolf. While no charges were filed, the death of Big Jake seemed to shake Death Row and Suge personally, making their beef with Puffy all the more serious. Pac's shootings and his accusations towards Puff Daddy and Biggie Smalls kicked off the East Coast-West Coast war, with Death Row Records on one side and Bad Boy on the other. But in Las Vegas on September 7th of 1996, the war went deeper and darker than anyone could have imagined.
People can call Suge a lot of shit, but I don't think Suge would have put himself in that type of situation knowing that he's going to jail.
Tupac was in town for a Mike Tyson fight. After the match, he climbed into a black BMW driven by Suge Knight. Then a white Cadillac pulled up alongside the car, and a gunman started shooting from the back seat. Suge Knight was struck once in the head, while Pac was shot 4 times. Suge and Pac were rushed to the hospital, and while Suge would recover from his injuries, Pac remained on life support before passing away 6 days later. For years, the murder of Tupac Shakur remained unsolved. A ton of people naturally suspected that Biggie and Puffy might have been involved, but both denied any involvement. Faith Evans, Biggie's wife, claims that Big called her the night of Tupac's death in tears. But despite all the rumors, Las Vegas PD made very little progress in their investigation, claiming that witnesses wouldn't talk to them. But on September 27th of 2023, 27 years later, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department arrested Dwayne Keith D. Davis, a Southside Crip, and charged him with Tupac's murder. But the wildest part about all of this is Keefe D had been publicly vocal about his connection to Tupac's shooting for years. In his memoir, Compton Street Legend, Keefe D describes in detail the night of Pac's murder. And what's even wilder is that he claims Diddy himself ordered the hit on Tupac and promised to pay out $1 million for the assassination of not only Pac.
Do y'all think that this is true? Or, I mean, back in the day, Snoop Dogg was blaming Suge. I mean, who knows, man? Who knows? This is the only thing that makes sense, in my opinion. Allegedly.
but also Suge Knight. In his book, Keefe D describes the meeting and says that Puffy was full of fear when he ordered the hit on Pac. In court papers filed for Keefe D's upcoming trial, prosecutors included the transcript from a 2009 recording conducted by undercover police. In the transcript, an undercover officer asked Keefe D point blank if Sean Combs played a role in Tupac's assassination. Keefe D claimed that Diddy was afraid of Suge Knight and allegedly said,
Diddy
"I would
was
give
afraid of
anything
Suge?
for that dude's head." While Keefe D insists that his nephew, another Southside Crip named Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, was the actual trigger man in the shooting, he also suggested that Diddy paid another associate, Eric Von Zip Martin, money for the contract on Pac. Keefe D said that he tried to collect the money from Puffy, but that he avoided him and it was never paid for the hit on Pac. Keefe even said,
I was on top of the world till I met your motherfucker ass, dude. It's wrong, dude.
and honestly, it sounds like there's a lot of people out there that agree with that statement. In October of 2024, a woman named Ashley Parham filed a lawsuit where she claimed that
I think
Diddy
this was
sexually
in the,
assaulted her in retaliation after she accused him
documentary.
of being involved in Tupac's death. According to the lawsuit, she told Diddy over a FaceTime call that she suspected him of being behind Pac's shooting, and Diddy
think
vowed that she would pay
in the
for
first
her comment.
episode,
She
maybe.
then says a friend of hers who was an associate of Diddy set her up to be confronted by Puffy, who allegedly held a knife up to her face and threatened to give her a Glasgow smile. For the record, a Glasgow smile is when someone carves up the corners of your mouth to give you a permanent smile, almost like the Joker. And as we've seen from Diddy's unhinged Halloween videos, he is literally obsessed with the Joker. And if that wasn't shocking enough, Parham claimed in her lawsuit that Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Karam,
That's
was
another thing I know him from, is the Joker thing that went viral, I think in 2019 or something. I'm not too sure, but I remember seeing that. But I didn't know who, like, I just remember it, you know.
had been described by Diddy himself as his right hand and claims that he wouldn't be able to function without her. But she's also been called Diddy's manipulator-in-chief and was previously named as the director of the Combs enterprise. According to the lawsuit, Karam told Diddy to not cut Ashley Parham's face because it would sell her to potential clients. Parham then says that Diddy, Karam, and other Diddy associates violently assaulted her and that Diddy heavily implied that he's gotten away with more heinous crimes before. While there hasn't been any concrete evidence or charges tying Diddy to Tupac's murder, this new info was compelling enough that Tupac's family hired a lawyer on October 4th of 2024 to investigate these allegations further. But what about the murder of Biggie, which happened just 6 months after Tupac was shot in Las Vegas?
And Biggie was like, yo, Murray, I got shows in London. Do you think I should stay here or leave? I said, Big, you know they do not like you out here. Leave.
On March 8th of 1997, Biggie Smalls and Puffy were in attendance at a Soul Train Awards after party in LA. Biggie and Diddy being in LA was especially significant because this was at the height of the East Coast West Coast beef, and they were practically in enemy territory. Lil Cease, Diddy's protege, says that they got advice from both the streets and industry associates that it was a bad idea for the Bad Boy team to be out in LA, but Diddy insisted that they show face. Kirk Burrows, the former president of Bad Boy, verified that Biggie was actually scheduled to travel to London on that very same day for a press event that would have seen him meet up with a panel of international journalists. This press conference would have been a major boost to Biggie's career since it would have helped platform him on a global level. Not only would this have elevated Biggie's star status, but it also would have been good for Bad Boy Records and Diddy himself. But at the very last minute, Diddy called Kirk Burrows and told him that Biggie would be remaining in LA and to cancel the London press tour even though a lot of money had already been spent on the event. What's even stranger is that Diddy didn't just want Biggie to attend the award show, he stressed it was very important that Biggie showed up for the after party. Biggie was still recovering from a car accident, which meant he either needed a wheelchair or a cane to move around. Despite all that, Diddy pulled the boss card and forced Biggie to come to LA and scrap his London press junket. After midnight, Biggie and Diddy left the after party and got into two different vehicles. As Biggie's truck stopped at a red light, a black Chevy Impala pulled up alongside it and the driver rolled down the window and fired at Biggie, shooting him 4 times. From there, Biggie's team rushed him to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. He was only 24 years old. In the aftermath of Biggie's assassination, rumors swirled over who was responsible. But in recent years, more and more information has trickled out that Diddy may have been more responsible than we realized. Reports also emerged that Biggie was actively looking to leave Bad Boy Records before he was shot, and that Diddy was fighting Biggie's lawyers to retain control of Biggie's publishing rights. After Biggie's death in 1997, Rolling Stone magazines even
all that shit is obviously suspicious.
Diddy offering a cover
Let's use our
opportunity.
common
Kirk
sense.
Burroughs advocated for the team to put Biggie on the cover as a posthumous tribute to Bad Boy's flagship artist. According to an investigation released by Rolling Stone, Diddy refused, saying, "No, he's dead. I need to be on the cover of Rolling Stone." Not only did Rolling Stone put Diddy on the cover, but he used Biggie's death to promote his debut solo album, No Way Out. In May of 1997, just 2 months after the murder, Diddy released I'll Be Missing You, a tribute song to Biggie that featured the notorious B.I.G.'s estranged wife, Faith Evans. The song was a record-shattering success. It spent 11 weeks at the top of the Billboard Hot 100, won a Grammy for the best rap performance by a duo or group, and made history as one of the best-selling singles ever. Diddy's big solo album, No Way Out, was released later that summer and was another colossal victory for Bad Boy. It debuted at #1, selling over 500,000 copies in its first week, and even went 7 times platinum. Even though Biggie had long been seen as Bad Boy's most important artist, he stepped into his friend's throne just months after he was killed. Diddy himself even admitted that he directly benefited from Biggie's demise. In a 1999 interview with Rolling Stone, Diddy claimed, "I think Biggie's passing added to the fame," and then claimed that at least 2 million copies of No Way Out sales were due to Biggie's death. It's almost as if Diddy used Biggie's shooting as a launch pad to go from record producer to superstar rapper in a matter of weeks. People are still digging up the truth about Diddy, but it looks like telling the truth comes with a huge price.
I don't know what you're talking about.
In recent years, strange things have been happening to some of the people who have known Diddy the longest. Kim Porter, the mother of 3 of Diddy's children, was reportedly working on a memoir about her life and relationship with Puffy. And sources say that Kim was not being shy about her book project. Rumors surfaced that Kim confronted Diddy's former mentor, Andre Harrell, over lunch, reportedly over videos she recorded of Andre being intimate with Diddy. Sources even claim that he asked Andre to come clean about his relationship with Diddy. According to Mark Curry, a former Bad Boy artist, Diddy was conducting around-the-clock surveillance on Kim, including tapping her phone. If Kim was working on a scandalous tell-all, it would be completely believable that Diddy would know about it. But on November 15th of 2018, Kim Porter shockingly passed away at the age of 47. The autopsy reports claimed that Kim passed due to pneumonia, but she had no pre-existing conditions. Even though Kim had substantial resources and had been in a relationship with one of the biggest moguls in music, she was never hospitalized for her so-called illness. Instead, she was just pronounced dead. Jaguar Wright, Diddy's former assistant, even made claims that Kim Porter's toxicology report showed signs of...
I mean, everything that was told about Diddy in the documentary. Jesus Christ, I got a headache. Sorry, guys. In the doc, it was all there. It was all proof in the pudding. So shit should have been done before. Like, I don't know. This could have been. It definitely could have been prevented, but it's just he was in that higher power, I guess, back in the day. Because they looked at famous people like, I don't think that's how it is nowadays, but they looked at famous people like they were on a throne. So he's basically untouchable. So
poisoning. She even says that Diddy had a custom-made casket for her bought and picked out 3 weeks before Kim Porter died. Could Kim have been dosed with a secret toxin that made it look like she passed from pneumonia? Just recently, a 59-page book reportedly written by Kim Porter was released and became the top-selling book on Amazon. A man named Chris Todd claims that Kim Porter gave him the book via a flash drive before she passed away. However, pretty much everyone Kim was close to, from her children to her longtime friends, have claimed the book was fabricated and pointed out numerous factual errors. Amazon even took action by removing the book from their website. But Kim isn't the only confidant who passed away unexpectedly. Andre Harrell, the man Diddy credits with giving him a shot at the music business in the first place, died on May 7th of 2020 after reportedly suffering from heart problems. Andre was Diddy's longtime mentor and role model, and he passed away just a year and a half after Kim Porter. One of the few remaining people who would know the true details behind Diddy and Andre Harrell's close relationship would be I'll Be Sure, one of the founding members of Uptown Records. I'll Be Sure is also the father of another one of Kim Porter's children, which just goes to show how weirdly mixed up all these guys were in each other's business in the first place, but whatever.
Yeah.
Regardless, I'll Be Sure came close to death in July of 2022 when he fell into a mysterious coma for months. He ended up waking up from his coma in October of 2022, but no explanation was given for what caused the bizarre medical episode. On the other hand, his illness sounds a lot like what Jaguar Wright was talking about when it comes to undetectable poison, and I'll Be Sure himself implied that Diddy may have been involved. Just days after Diddy's Miami and LA homes were raided by agents from the Department of Homeland Security, I'll Be Sure said,
"And you really understand how I ended up in a coma. You're really gonna need to call Homeland Security."
I'll Be Sure even announced a documentary and called for additional investigation into the untimely death of his former partner, Kim Porter. It looks like there's a pattern of people who knew Diddy back from the very beginning of his career falling ill in the same 6-year time span. But if we're being real, tell-all should be the least of Diddy's worries.
Unless there's a real twist and turn to the plot, I don't think he's coming out of jail again.
Since Diddy was arrested this past September, numerous new lawsuits have been filed on behalf of his alleged victims. Tony Busby, a personal injury lawyer from Houston, Texas, announced that the floodgates have opened since Diddy's shooting. Busby hosted a press conference where he said that he has over 120 alleged victims who have come forward claiming that they were assaulted by Sean Combs. At the same time, Tony Busby mentioned that his staff was carefully vetting each and every one of Diddy's new accusers to make sure they could verify all the facts. While the cases are still being worked on, the first batch of 6 lawsuits were filed on October 15th and paint an even more disturbing pattern when it comes to Diddy's behavior.
There's clearly a pattern. That was already obvious. There's clearly a pattern.
Back to 1995 and alleges that
Something
Diddy assaulted
should
a
have
woman
been
during a
done way
promotional
before.
party for a notorious B.I.G. music video. Another lawsuit claims that a representative for Echo, a clothing brand that was a rival to Diddy's own fashion line, Sean John, was violently attacked and sexually assaulted by Diddy in a Macy's stockroom in 2008. Tony Busby has even claimed that powerful people will be exposed in these upcoming lawsuits. Diddy's lawyers have tried to destroy Tony Busby's credibility, claiming that his press conference and victim hotline is a media circus, but Busby rejected those accusations and said, "I want people who have been scarred to know that they're not alone." There's also been numerous reports surfacing about Diddy's new life behind bars. After spending decades promoting a lavish lifestyle, Diddy's residency at New York's notorious MDC Brooklyn jail has to be a major shakeup. Numerous news reports reported that Diddy was paranoid and refusing to eat while being locked up, reportedly out of fear of being poisoned. Larry Levine, a former inmate at MDC, claimed that he had a source inside the jail saying that Diddy was afraid for his life.
Imagine if someone paid someone off on the inside to actually poison his food, give him a heart attack, and he dies. And no one would really think anything of it.
Come to think of it, that sounds a lot like what happened to Diddy's mentor, Andre Harrell. Damn. Despite Puffy's mounting legal trouble, he still made headlines when he made a return to Instagram to celebrate his daughter's 2nd birthday. But the most important news is that a judge in Diddy's case has finally set a date for the trial, May 5th of 2025. So expect us to learn way more about the diddler closer to May 5th. We're really seeing hip-hop's darkest secrets come to light in real time.
Dang, that was a crazy video.
I never made a call.
It's a crazy video.
Diddy's been indicted.
Shout out to Rap Lore. I'm gonna link his video in the description. Thanks for watching, guys. I just wanted to cover on this and get my first reaction video out there. I'm trying to dive into this, so thanks. Peace.